Roadman, welcome back to the podcast. Today I chat with one of the best Grand Tour riders of a generation. It is Laurens ten Dam. Who can forget those iconic images from the Tour de France of Laurens with his face all bandaged up and blood leaking everywhere? What a hard man. But today we're not talking about road cycling, we are talking about bike packing and ultra distance cycling. Today, Laurens deconstructs the Tour Divide, the Tour de France of bike packing. We talk about equipment choices, preparation, nutrition, mindset, and the low points. Trust me, there were plenty. This is a brilliant, hilarious, fascinating, and insightful interview. I hope you enjoy it. It's Laurens ten Dam. Laurens ten Dam, welcome back to the Roadman Podcast.
Yo, happy to be here.
What are we, 800 episodes later?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I remember you talking about the daily podcast, like, how it must be 3 years ago. I was like, man, that guy is crazy, so maybe 4 years ago even. Because I got my own podcast and I know how much work it's there, you also need to find time to have life and train and do other things. But yeah, you managed pretty well, Anthony.
And the crazy part in that is because I didn't miss a day for like 3 years, and like life happens as well. Like, so I had crashes on my bike. I'd, family problems, fights with my girlfriend. My mom was in critical in hospital at one point. I didn't miss a podcast, especially when my mom was in hospital. That was crazy because it was 2 weeks where she was like on life support and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, how am I doing this podcast? But it was a nice distraction.
Yeah. I can imagine things are crazy. But also for us, when we have a record day, there's only once or twice I said, man, I'm not feeling it, I remember back in 2019, I did the Tour de France with the national television. I had been a lot on podcasts for myself. I had been on national television. And then Stefan wanted to record another one straight after the tour, and I was just me and in my van, driving to the Cevennes. And I was like, man, I'm not feeling it. I think I'm Laurens ten Dam tired, and I think people are also tired of Laurens ten Dam. So that's the one I remember. Like, okay, we're not doing it. But then also, good stuff happens out of there because we made a movie about the area I was there relaxing in my van, so afterwards we made up for that.
You've had a career which was absolutely brilliant, and a career with so many highs. So much goes into that, so much hard work, so much dedication, so much mental sacrifice. How did you even contemplate doing the Tour Divide? Where did that idea come from?
Yeah, so the thing was, so back in 2017, first time I heard about ultra cycling and ultra racing. I did a ride from Amsterdam to Bonn. I think it was in September somewhere. People asked me to go on the ride, and I said, yeah, sure. And then people were talking about Mike Hall, and I said, who's that guy? And they said, yeah, he's a legend, but he just passed away in Australia because he was doing one of those like long races where you don't sleep. And I was like, man, I'm never going to do all that shit. And then Corona came, like COVID came, and in that year I did one in the Pyrenees, because it was one of the only races you could do for the Pyrenees, because when you do ultras, you don't see people, and you don't you don't mingle with people. And I was hooked, man. And then it took me a few years to come back to ultra because I did also, like you said, life happens, and I was second in Unbound, and I tried to win Unbound for a few more years. And then, but still, it's still the fire was burning inside me, like to do it again, stuff like that. And then I think the next 3 races I did was within a time span of 1 year, I think. Yeah, within a time span of 1 year, I won all 3, like 3-day races. And I remember I phoned one of the guys I rode the bike with in 2017. I said, Bas Rotgans. I said, man, I'm new to all this, but if I want to do one race to win, which one should I aim for? And then he said Tour Divide, because I knew there was like Atlas Mountain Race or Silk Mountain Race or Transcontinental or So I said, no, man. Tour Divide is like the pinnacle of the sport, and it's like the Elfstedentocht, you know, the famous ice skating thing in the Netherlands. He said it was like that. So then I said, okay, I'll do it. And once I said I do something, I do it. So there was no doubt left, you know, and I started to prepare for Tour Divide.
So what's the preparation like from your days as a World Tour pro to prepare for the Tour Divide?
Yeah, man, you have to think about so many things, you know, like actually you don't have to, but I thought I had to, you know, like do I take a sleeping bag? Do I take only a BV? Do I take, which lamps do I take? Which clothes? Blah, blah, blah. Which bike? Which tires? And at the end I found out you can't plan anything, man. Like I was doubting about my lamps for like maybe 2 months, and then the second day I lost my lamp, and I did it on a pen light I bought at the dollar shop, you know. I was doubting about which gloves I should bring, and then I also lost my gloves on day 2, and I bought some gloves at the gas station, and they were also doing the job, you know. So I found out that and also the winner teach me that Justina's like, you can planning is for the week, he says, but I see his point because I tried to plan so many things, you know. I think I didn't enjoy the ride as much as I could have enjoyed it. You know, in hindsight, I'm happy, but on the bike, I was not enjoying so much.
Is that the trade-off? And you're coming from like pure performance, you know. I've chatted to Lachlan and stuff about this, and he struggles with that. It's like in the pursuit of high performance, in the pursuit of going to win a Tour Divide, do you somehow lose the experience of riding the Tour Divide?
Yeah, exactly. I think you said it very well, you know. Like I tried to win the thing. I was planning according to Lachlan's records. He gave me his cheat sheet. I saw his Strava file, so I did the days he did. I did not a loose planning. I did a planning around that, you know. I found hotels, and I was thinking about which things, which supply points I had to hit before I think the shops closed and blah blah blah. And in hindsight, everything was different than I was planning, you know. But if you don't reach your goals, you feel shit about yourself. That's what I found out. You feel like a noob, like my kids say, like someone who can't ride a bike and in hindsight, it was not the case, because with all the stuff I encountered, and with the new course, I still did a 15-day finish, you know, like 15 days and change. So I can be really proud with myself. I'm really happy. I'm really happy with the ride. But like I say, I was not enjoying it so much because I planned to be faster.
How did you handle that mental aspect of it, like the isolation, when you are in that headspace of, I hope to be faster, but you still have to get to the finish, and you've so much time alone with your thoughts? Is that difficult?
Yeah. Like I say, I won through 3 of those races, but they were only 3 days. You know, basically, I won Further England, I won Grand Guanche, and I won the one in Colombia, Transcordilleras. The first 2 were actually only 2 days or 1 day, and the last one was 3 days. And I was like, okay, I just quadruple it, you know, but that's not the case, because if you quadruple something, it's a quadruple beer is also a lot stronger than like a single, than like a Pilsner. So you feel that a lot more, you know, in the body. And that was also the case with this thing. So, yeah, so I was, in hindsight, I was underestimating it too much. And and of course I could think a lot about, you know, it's still long and this and that. But what I noticed in those shorter events is that I just continue till the line stops. And basically I used that same mentality in this race, you know, like I just had to go to the finish. There was no other option.
I had a conversation with Dan Bingham, the aerodynamicist from Red Bull, a while ago. Yeah. And it was really interesting because I thought aerodynamics is exclusively the domain of the track, probably grown up. And then you start to see the time trial guys really leaning into it. Then you see the Grand Tour guys leaning into it. But like, as I was chatting to him, the penny kind of dropped that the longer the event, the more we should be leaning into aerodynamics. Because if you could change your CDA by just a tiny little bit,
on a 15-day event, it's going to result in hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that point, but also like then in hindsight, I did 2 or 3 days on like way too low pressure on the tires because it was leaking, you know, and then you push, but don't go forward. So I don't want to go too much because you average, man, sometimes you average for 6 hours only 5K an hour, you know, like a 20 mile stretch takes you 6 hours, you know, and you're like, fuck, what the fuck? And I did also a few lectures about this thing, and the key takeaways was like expectations. If they're like expectations are good, but if my expectations were like surreal, I couldn't reach them because they were based on Lachlan's race, but Lachlan's parcours like was totally different, especially in the last state, New Mexico, than the parcours of Tour Divide, because Tour Divide is a different parcours than, for example, the Great Divide mountain bike route. They take more single track, more like hiker bike stuff, you know. So I was expecting to be home Thursday. I'd started my ride on Tuesday. I did already 3 days according to Lachlan's pace. If I did the schedule like they made for me at home, you know, of course you're on WhatsApp with people at home and they're like, okay, like I had like my tactical team. Like you could be there Thursday night, and then that Tuesday the parcours turned out totally different than Lachlan's parcours, you know, because you get the GPX only 1 week before and you cannot study 4,300 kilometers.
Yeah.
And then I felt so shit about myself, man. Like I said, there was the 30K stretch, which took me 6 hours. Instead of an average on 20K an hour I used to do, it would take me 1.5 hours. I will lose already 4.5 hours on my schedule to be on time on Thursday, you know? And then I remember I was on the bike and I was like, please, man, tell me this is new. This is something I don't know about this, but tell me this is not has been in the race for the last 20 years. Tour Divide is happening, because I feel so shit about myself. Like, how can Lachlan be so quick? And then I found like on my phone, I found like one little piece of network, you know. And I remember I phoned Stefan, my co-host on the podcast, who also I was man, please tell me this is not like it used to be. He said, Lawrence, I'm sorry, we missed all this, you know, and you're not like a noob. You're not like because that's what I was thinking. But I remember I was laying there in the ditch, phoning him like with my phone high for that one little piece of network. And my youngest kid, he never texts me. It's still the last 3 texts I got from him. But the text he sent to me was, I miss you. That's the only 3 words he sent me in 3 different texts. He's 9 years old, you know. And then I was there. I remember laying in the ditch, feeling shit about and I was like, fuck, now I gotta get up and go to the finish line, because the kids miss me and I have to reach them. Because also, for example, the goal to be there on Thursday was because then I could be quicker to the kids, you know, quicker back home, quicker to the kids. But those expectations were all not reachable from an objective point of view. So then that's what I say. That's my key takeaway. You feel shit about yourself if your expectations were not possible. Also with the kids.
But it's not like a lesson in life, though. It's like if your expectations are higher than your delivery, you're just always unhappy.
Exactly. Like my kids, they're pretty good in playing ball, you know, like soccer, baseball. But if I put the bar too high for them, you know, like, of course I encourage them. And of course they have expectations. And the oldest is 12 and he says, I'm going to be a Texas Ranger and play Major League Baseball in the US, you know. And I'm not getting that dream away from him. But I'm not... The key takeaway also for me is like, is 99.99% sure he's not reaching that, but he doesn't need to feel shit about himself and he's not reaching that, because that expectation to be there, that's really is only for the happy few, you know? And so that's a key takeaway. Don't be too harsh on yourself.
You think even though you were that harsh on yourself, maybe that robs you of the enjoyment in the moment. But do you think looking back now at the passage of time, it's possible to enjoy it in hindsight?
This podcast is sponsored by Whoop. It's the world's most advanced health and fitness wearable. Whoop is the only wearable that actively coaches you towards your goals, and it shows you the impact that certain behaviours and habits have on your health. And right now is a great time to get started with Whoop because they've just kicked off their Sober October challenge. So why not give your body and mind a little bit of a reset with a 1 month break from alcohol? Sounds tough, but I can tell you it's not. Last year, Whoop members who spent 1 month alcohol-free experienced loads of improvements to their sleep, resting heart rate, variability, and loads more.
And I think the thing with that is you don't need to get started with your 1 month challenge on October 1st. It could be October 31st that you get started on your 1 month challenge. For me, like if anyone's listened to the podcast, I had a wipeout on the mountain bike about 5 weeks ago. Tore my rotator cuff, broke a bunch of ribs, and went into a little bit of self-destruct mode where I started out having like a glass of wine a night, and then I was like, oh sure, I'm not training tomorrow, I'll have 2 glasses of wine, I'll have 3 glasses of wine, I may as well finish the bottle. And it's like, what am I doing here? But when the Sober October thing came along, I thought it was an interesting chance to compare data from my Whoop in the period where I was feeling sorry for myself, in the period alcohol-free. And I'm actually shocked at the difference it makes. Even 1 glass of wine, the difference it makes to my heart rate variability, my restorative sleep. And then anecdotally, if you tie that data to how you feel the next day, it's insane. So if anyone hasn't experimented with this, I think you're drastically going to cut your alcohol consumption all year if you observe this data. Like Whoop have been good enough to give us a bunch of free months to hand out to listeners of the podcast so they can try this. So the link is going to be in the description below. I highly encourage you to go and try this and try drinking. Great excuse to drink. Try drink for a while. Then use your Whoop to observe the effects on heart rate variability, sleep, resting heart rate when you're drinking and you're not drinking. So if you want to get that free month, it's join.whoop.com/roadman, and it's going to be in the description below. Try it and let me know how you get on.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And the first 2 weeks, if you asked me about Tour Divide, I would have been like, because I was totally empty, you know, I was just blanco, I was numb. I was Tour Divide. It was painful, and I'm still tired. That would be my response, you know. And this, but then I remember, I think 10 days after my finish on the second rest of the Tour de France, I think we did a 2-hour podcast on Tour Divide, you know, with my podcast, and I listened to that one 10 days later. When I was returning from the Tour de France home, you know, like a long drive, and I was alone in the car, and I listened, and then it started to sink in, you know. I was in the car having the goosebumps still, you know, like, oh man, actually that was a cool period of my life, and maybe I want to go back someday to the trail, you know, like actually the time on it was not just bad, but it was also really nice moments, you know, on the trail, and I could be with myself and because, you know, like you say, life happens, you know. I did Tour Divide, and 2 days after I returned home, I was in the Tour de France, and then things happen, and then I went on a big family holiday, and then the company starts in Amsterdam. We're based in Amsterdam with our office, you know, and I've been away for like such a long time, and then you want to go back to that feeling, you know, of pain and suffering, but at least life was simple, you know. And so I started to enjoy it more and more that I did the whole ride. Yeah.
I think there's something about bike riders where it's almost like we need to experience one end of the extreme to experience the other. Like by that, I mean, you'll enjoy the sitting in the office in a warm environment, having a nice coffee or beer because you've experienced the hardship of being in the ditch, totally broken. Like the beer just doesn't taste the same without the trauma of being in the ditch broken.
No, I think you're right, you know, because, but this was a real extreme. This was like, like we did with Live Slow Ride Fast. We did it every day. Like I record some stuff, and once I had network, it was sent to the people in the office, and then they would make like a daily recap. And in the Netherlands, like people, like it took off a big time. You know, I think we got 6 million views in 2 weeks. So that's like crazy. And then people really enjoyed it for the first 5 days, but 14 days is long, man. You know,
it's
and
a
at
lot.
the
I
end,
was following you, and I was like, just at one point I forgot you were doing it, and then I came back a week later. I was like, oh, you're still doing that?
it's still there. Yeah, exactly. And for me, it was talking about flow. We will come to flow, because for me it was only like 5. In my head, it's only like 5 days. You know, that's real flow. But you know, people start to not like it because they saw me so much suffering and it took so long, and they saw how deep I went. You know, so at first they were like, "Oh fuck, cool, that's an adventure." And then the people who really care about me, some people, when I came home, they were like, "Never do that again." You know, like, because we don't want to watch you suffer that much as what you did. So and exactly 2 weeks is long, you know. Also for the kids at home, 3 days they follow you. Where's that? But the 13th day, where's that? Jay still on his bike somewhere in the US doing crazy shit, but actually they don't care anymore, you know. Like a 3-week Tour de France is also long.
Is the suffering comparable? Like when you're riding GC in the Tour de France, and you know the podium guys are really turning the screw, and you're top 10 in GCs in the balance, those key moments on the Alpine or Pyrenean climbs where you have to go to that hurt locker. How comparable is that type of suffering to what you went through?
Yeah, for me, Tour de Fight was way, way harder. Yeah, because I read the story about Alex House and the TSS, and he did a 20-day Tour de Fight. I think last 2 years,
he's like, so much bad luck as well. He was like in trucks getting lifts places with broken wheels and stuff.
And I was like 6 days quicker, I think, than him. But for me, man, like, you know, if I do the Tour de France and also win in the top 10, I was tired and I was really fucked. But Monday I could race, what's it called? Boxmeer, you know, the crit. But now, and Saturday I could race San Sebastian and do a decent race. But here, I think the day I arrived, if you put me in the hospital, they would have kept me for 2 days because I was, you know, I have pictures like me phoning because my eye was inflamed.
Oh, you look real.
Because I had like a lens 48 or I don't know 72 hours. A 1 day lens was 72 hours in the same eye without changing them or something on the end. And I could only cry, and my face was puffy. And I was dehydrated, and I could only be in my bed. And you know, every turn I felt every bone in my body. So for me, Tour de Fight was way, way harder, you know. And also the weeks after, I think it took for me 2 months to really start training again, or start training. Like right now, I'm training for Gravel Worlds. But it took me 2 months to be like a human again. You know, I don't know if this example is appropriate in this podcast, but my first son, he's born April 19, and he was made in Paris the year before after the Tour de France.
Yeah.
But after this Tour de Fight, I was 2 days home, and there was no cell in my body who was desiring for action. I was just. And also my wife, she was like, "What the fuck is coming in the house now?" You know, like this guy is like crazy. I was only in my chair, and I was like grumpy in the chair because I was painful, and I knew I had to leave for the Tour de France within 2 days. So I had to pack, and there was like no action at all, you know. So that's also maybe a thing to consider, you know, if you do Tour de Fight in order to be fast.
Yeah, it's like, I'm trying to put myself even into the mindset of how deep that pit of fatigue is. Like if you ride the bike, you know, if anyone's ridden the bike for a long day, you do a 16, 17-hour day, and then you go to bed that night and you get up the next morning, you're just so sore. The last thing you want to do is ride the bike again. How do you go like 16-hour day and then get up the next day and do it again?
Yeah, man, I did 26-hour days, you know, like that's even, like the third day, actually, there was actually still the second day because I left at 11 p.m. and I arrived the next day, so 21 a.m. on the hotel, you know, so, and then, there's no option about, you know, my dad, when I was standing still, my dad used to say, you're not come where you want to be. at the end you need to be in New Mexico, touching the gate or touching the wall or what's it there? Touching the fence. You know, at the end, that's the place you have to go. And when you're standing still or laid down for another hour, you're not coming there, so you have to. But man, things are harsh over there, you know. And also the thing what also got to me the most. So besides the physical pain, was also the always existing self-guilt. Like if I would wake up and I would leave, it would be typically take me 35-40 minutes, you know, in breakfast, and I need to pick my bike and put all the stuff back on the bike, and then put my clothes on, and then put the wahoo on, and then get the route and blah blah blah. It would take me 40 minutes, 35. And then I was like, oh fuck, I spoke to Lachlan and he did it in 15 or 20 minutes, he always said. And then from arriving in the hotel, he was like, I had my small backpack like Lachlan. I would go to a gas station, buy a lot of shit for the night, also for the next morning for breakfast. And then also for the first few hours on the bike. And then it would take from checking in the hotel and it's a shower. And I need to phone with my wife a little bit, you know, or because it was morning already in the Netherlands, and make a little movie for the company. It would also take too long. Like it would always take too long. So I was always in a hurry, and I was always talking self-guilt to me. And then after 5 days, I stopped because I phoned with Stefan and Thomas Dekker at a breakfast place somewhere in, what was it called? Somewhere in a ski town, very, very cold. And I was like, man, I'm done with all the hurrying all day long. I'm hurrying, you know, and it's never fast enough. And out of the 18 hours you're awake, you need to be on the bike for 17 hours or 17.5 hours, and always bam. And I couldn't handle that anymore, that stress. So then I slowed down a little bit, yeah.
Roadman, I'm going to date myself here, but I've been riding the bike for almost 20 years. And in that time, I've cycled through every cycling apparel brand out there. And I kept swapping out different apparel brands each season until I found Lacoste. There's something really different about Lacoste. And as soon as you slip into the gear, you notice it feels different. It feels better. I've had the pleasure of chatting with Janto Barker on the podcast. He's the Lacoste founder. And his dedication to crafting the fastest, most refined cycling apparel out there, it's nothing short of inspiring. Janto isn't just trying to create gear. I get the feeling he's actively and obsessively trying to perfect cycling gear. Trust me, as soon as you slip on the Lacoste kit, as soon as you zip up that jersey, you can feel that commitment. The proof for Lacoste, it's in the pudding. This is the same kit that Jay Hindley wore when he clinched overall victory in the Giro d'Italia. There's a confidence that comes with wearing apparel that's been battle tested and podium proven in races like the Giro d'Italia. Trust me, feeling good on the bike means you're gonna perform better. If you have a second, I highly advise you to jump on over to lacoste.cc and check out their amazing range of kit and experience this feeling for yourself.
But the ultras are almost divided into two groups, aren't they? Because you have these crazy ones which are, 12, 13 days plus. But then the smaller ones like Badlands, like I've chatted to, Leo Wilcox and Rob Britton, who've both won Badlands. And like Rob's preparation for Badlands when he won it, he done a full distance race recce back home on Vancouver Island. And then he was sleeping he took 3 4-minute naps in his race recce. And he's like, no, that's not long enough. I don't feel refreshed enough. So then he went into the race and he took 2 7-minute naps for
I
the
remember.
full race.
He told me the story too, but I raced him in Colombia this year. He got second. I think I was like 45 minutes in front of him. That was like a real race till the end because it was a. Yeah, and also I told him like I'm going to do it Tour Divide style here, so I take 2 hotels and I try to sleep longer. At the end I beat him with that tactic, but he came pretty close the last night without sleeping. But. For me, I wanted to do this ultra and prove that you could win without doing all that crazy stuff. But I didn't succeed in that in that goal, but because first of all, I wanted to sleep 6 hours a night, and then the second night I couldn't sleep. Yeah, it was the second night because I lost my lamp, I lost my gloves, so I went to bed at 8:15. I woke up at 9:45 again, like 90 minutes later, and then I started to think, fuck, how should I manage these problems, with my lights, with my gloves, and fuck, I need to sleep. And then I just get out of bed. I started at 11 a.m. Of 11 p.m. I mean. So after like a 16-hour day, I did a 90-minute sleep, and I started again. And then in the whole night from 11 a.m. till 5 a.m. it starts going light, I think. So the whole night, the second half of that night, I was seeing, the trees were like people and maybe houses. So I went to sleep in my BV for like 15 minutes at 7:30 in the morning, I remember. And then that was exactly what I didn't want to do, like one of those guys hallucinating on the bike.
Yeah.
And then I remember at 5 p.m. I arrived in Lincoln, which was basically the place I wanted to stay for sleep. But then I was like, yeah, man, it's 5 p.m. It starts to snow tonight. So, and because I was at 5 p.m., because I started at 11 p.m. the night before, I started way earlier than I was thinking I would start. I said, yeah, maybe I can continue to Helena, because Helena, it will take me maybe 6 hours from here, like 100K. So I would be there at 11 p.m. And it started to snow and I was late and I crashed a few times in the downhill. I came there at 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. in the hotel. And I remember I arrived in Helena and it's like 100,000 people town. So street lights, advertisement, lights, a typical US town, and I remember suddenly out of the forest, I came into a big town, big roads. And I was like, man, I was totally hallucinating. Like I was in a carnival parade, like in a big parade. And in front of me was Aladdin on his carpet. I was looking to the lights. I was like, it was like hitting myself in the face, man, I'm not seeing all this stuff. I'm just imagining all this stuff. And that was exactly what I didn't want to do beforehand. And on day 3, I was there already, so that pissed me off basically about myself. And then I started to realize, okay, I need to really sleep. And then, of course, I had the best night of my life from 11 till 7 a.m., I think, because I was so tired, I was just gone. But then I also needed to slow it down because I wanted to do it in a kind of healthy way. But still, I was tired for 2 months after the race.
The cycling landscape's kind of wild at the moment, though. Like, I think it was nearly around the end of your career that I started noticing all this different types of cycling. So many of us were so road focused for so long. And then it's like Ted King started opening up and going out to Rift. And then Lachlan and Alex Howes opened it up with the alternate program. Now it seems like almost everybody rides a bit of mountain bike, bit of gravel, bit of road, bit of ultra. How do you see that cycling ecosystem at the moment? Do you think it's going to keep developing like that? Or you see one or two of these pursuits, getting squeezed and not being as popular?
Yeah, but actually, I don't know. Like, what I'm thinking is, I think ultras will get more attention. I don't know if it's going to be a mass participation kind of thing, like gravel is, because it's so hard on the body. But what I notice is that ultra is, for me, is now like where gravel was 5 years ago.
Yeah,
I think you can still win ultra, like Justinas. He won Justinas Slovakia. He won Tour Divide. He's still a nurse.
Yeah.
He's just really good in being awake in the night. He's a nurse. He can do 24-hour shifts, he said, and blah, blah, blah. And he's always happy. But, and then also the guy who got second, Ulrich, he's more like World Tour Pro in terms of preparation and doing his efforts. But what I mean with gravel 5 years ago, we got Colin Strickland. He was still in the front group in Unbound with 12 hours training a week on Strava. And I know the guy, he's not like making up 12 hours a week. When it's 20, it's 12 hours a week.
Yeah.
It was on Strava, and I think it was the 4 or 5 weeks leading up to Unbound. And I think also ultra you can still do with a great mindset, and then a little training, because mindset is important. And now in Unbound now, training is important, nutrition is important. People weigh their stuff, what they eat. Like Lachlan said, the same basically. I think, and that's what I really like in the ultra thing, is that you can more go with the flow and not as dialed as not as dialed as all the World Tour pros. So that's the landscape I like. And yeah, because the marginal gain stuff, and to be in the top 10 in the tour, I've done all that stuff already, and now I just want to explore and have fun.
Yeah, I went bikepacking a few weeks ago. Just came back and went with some friends. They're good riders. We rode hard every day, just chopping off. Rode maybe, depending on the terrain, like 160 to 220 kilometers per day. Yeah. Went up through Albania, Bosnia, Montenegro, Croatia, Slovenia, and then back out of Italy for 2 weeks. Some of the most fun I've ever had on the bike. Like, just phenomenal fun. Like, I could see that getting more popular as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't need to race bike. But I see, actually, maybe it's also because I'm primed on it, but I see a lot of people here doing bike holidays in the Netherlands the last weeks. So, and also I was in Santa Cruz, and that also got me back into that area more. Like, they just use the bike for fun.
Yeah.
To have fun, to go out on the bike, and not to have the marginal gain stuff and the training all the time, but I just use it for fun, and that's...
Because I had the realization on bikepacking that, when I was thinking about, am I going back racing? Am I going to target this event? What am I looking for from cycling? And then I really went down a spiral of trying to overthink it. Like, if I'm not a cyclist, what am I? It's part of my identity. And I got to a really simple conclusion. I think I just cycle because I like having sore legs. I think I just like the feeling of sore legs in the evening.
Roadman, whether you're a weekend warrior or a World Tour rider, the right tools can make all the difference. Enter 4i's Precision 3 Plus Power Meter, the latest innovation from 4i, designed to help you reach peak performance. The Precision 3 Plus Power Meter is a compact yet powerful unit. It weighs just 9 grams and it's packed with features that set it apart, including integration with Apple's Find My network, giving you the peace of mind by letting you track your power meter wherever it is. Plus, you've got up to 800 hours of battery life. We all know that accuracy is key, and 4i's delivers a groundbreaking plus or minus 1% accuracy thanks to their unique 3D strain gauge technology. For those seeking even more data, the Precision 3 Plus Pro Power Meter offers dual-sided power meter metrics, giving you detailed insights into pedaling efficiency, torque effectiveness, and left-right balance. 4i's offers versatile product options to suit your needs. Choose from ride-ready power meters with pre-installed units on Shimano cranks, or up for factory-installed power meter, where you send in your crankset for a custom installation. Ready to elevate your cycling game? Trust 4i's Precision 3 Plus Power Meter. Precision, performance, and peace of mind all in one. Learn more by visiting 4iiii.com. That's 4iiii.com. I'm going to put that in the description down below.
And what I like the most about cycling is getting into the flow. And I think that's why also those bike pack events are like addicting to me. For example, I did those Tour de France's, I did top 10. But for example, I don't know if I still have, I might still be in the top 10 on the Mont Ventoux on the Strava KOM, and it must be like a 1 hour, I don't know, around the 58 minute or 1-2, I don't know the exact amount, but it must be like a 1 hour effort, but if I think back about that 1 hour, it's maybe 1 minute of pain or 1 minute of suffering or 1 minute of, and that's what flow is for me. And when I do that Colombia race of 3 days I win, when I think about that, that's maybe 2 or 3, maybe half a day, of suffering. And I did a 200k mountain bike race like 3 years ago in the Netherlands in between Christmas and New Year's Eve. I remember like it was a last minute sign up and I got third. But then I remember 200k on a mountain bike. It's also 6-7 hours. But you got into flow, you know, you go into the forest and you're alone by yourself already for 1 hour. And you go as fast as you get into the forest. And that also, that feeling is, you cannot buy that feeling. You know, you have to write yourself into that feeling. Like nobody can buy flow. And for me to divide, like I say, it took 15 days. But if I think back about all those days, it might be like 4 or 5. So that was like a 15-day flow because you're without the phone. Actually, you're not without the phone, but you only use it.
Yeah.
Where's the food? Where's the next hotel? Blah, blah, blah. You don't use it to scroll on Instagram or whatever, you know. You use it for practical stuff. And then, so for me, that it's like a 15-day flow I was in. And that's what something you can go back, you know. That's addicting, that feeling.
We need to do more things that make us forget to check our phone.
Yeah. I was just... of course, I checked my Rahul because I didn't want to get off route. You know, I wanted to do the whole route, but my power meter broke down after 2 days, so I had no watts. I had only average speed, but sometimes a lot of hiker bike and stuff like that. And also sometimes my file wasn't uploaded to Strava somehow, and I didn't give a shit. You know, I was just like. You know, I was happy when my bike was rolling. I had enough food, and I was sure that I was reaching the next resupply point. You know, so that feeling of flow, that's, yeah, like I said, that's addicting. But to have to, but on the other side, you know, you got Justina. I don't want to be an ultra guy. You know, I want to do it once in a while to get in that flow, but I cannot ride 5-6 ultras a year like those guys do.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because I have my company, I have my kids, you know, like they both have no kid. I have my wife, I have my kids, I got my company, I got other obligations. So, but every year to be in that zone, that's what I would like to be. But I can be in the zone in June, but I'm totally fine with not being in that zone in August, September, October, or November then, you know, because yeah, there's other stuff to do.
Have you thought about what's next year? I know your gravel world's coming up, but like looking at next year, that race in Colombia sounded pretty cool. Would you go back and do something like that again?
Yeah, for sure. We go back to Colombia because we're going to buy coffee. You know, I got also...
Nice. What's the Colombia race called? Yeah. Let's look into it. Trans something?
Transcordilleras. It's great. It's an 8-day race, but they do more events next year. They do an 8-day race and they do an ultra, but not together anymore. Last year they did everything in 1 week. So probably I won't make the 8-day race because of also kids' holidays, blah, 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 you know, life, family. But I will go 2 weeks earlier to buy coffee and do a bike pack trip in Colombia to enjoy Colombia, you know, even slower than on an 8-day. The other day is an 8-day stage race where you bring your own stuff. So you have the afternoons in the hotel if you're quick, you know. But here, if I don't want to race my bike one day, I can stay in the Airbnb, you know. But I will do that. Probably for sure I'll go back to Gravel Locals. I got my own event. I will do some UCI stuff. And then we have a lot of things with the company to do. And also we're going to make travel movies. So actually bike pack movies. So we did already one on the Stelvio. We do the Stelvio from the gravel side. We're planning on doing one from Lagos de Goverdonga on the gravel side. You know, so we go to all the famous mountains of the Tour de France where I have many stories, and then we do the back side, the alternative side with lifts, and then we do it live slow. So we drink the local liquor, the local beer, the local wine, the local, I don't know, intestines of cows or whatever they serve us, you know. Yeah. And then of course there will be a race program. But next year I'm 44 years old, you know, and I'm already like a pro rider for more than 20 years now, more than a half of my life. And I don't want to be the 48-year-old guy still trying to win Unbound, you know. Of course I will start the race and I will be there and have fun And maybe I do Unbound XL next year, to have another adventure, because there's totally self-supported instead of having the crew, it's also a burden sometimes, to arrange all that. But I don't need to be the 40-year-old guy still try to win Unbound, and to put a family life aside for that. That's not my goal. And
do you think physically you're slowing down, or is it more of a realization that you've already taken too much from your family, like the opportunity cost?
Yeah, no. So physically, it's of course I'm slowing down. So I'm 44 years old, but because last year I did Unbound. I always do Unbound and the Tour de France as a podcast, and in between Unbound and the podcast is 3 weeks normally, or Unbound and the Tour de France is normally 3 weeks. But last year I put Tour Divide right in those 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So that meant I was away from home for 3 months, and
that's
the kids. Yeah, so that turned out to be too much. I don't want to do that anymore, my wife has to, and it's not that she makes me stay, but like I say, they're both good in 2 sports. They both play soccer and baseball. So it's every Saturday it's 2 kids play soccer, and every Sunday 2 kids play baseball, and I cannot leave my wife 12 weeks doing all that stuff alone, I don't want to be that kind of husband too.
I'll chat you off air. I must try and get over and do your race this year. Looks super cool.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's in Limburg, and that's the thing with the podcast. We're also evolving. We, like I say, we do the travel program on our own YouTube. We're going to be, because normally we do the Tour de France podcast, Villa Tour, and then around the Flemish Classics we do Villa Vlaanderen, about the Tour of Flanders and Roubaix and whatever. But now probably we will also do a Villa Amstel to be we say the Waalse Classic, the Hilly Classics. So we will also do a lot with the podcast, I'm head coach of the Dutch National Gravel, Federation Gravel. So I'm also busy now preparing the World Championship. Yeah, preparing the World Championship Gravel. I organized 18 races on the track this winter in my home track, in my hometown, together with Nicky Terpstra and Reinier Honig. So yeah, busy, lots of stuff to do. And that's a good thing, because if you ask me all this the month after Tour Divide, I would say, man, I'm not going out, but so that's exactly what you say, because I've been there, I'm also going to be high on energy all winter. Yeah.
Laurens, you are a busy man, so I really appreciate you taking time, and it's great to have you back and catch up again.
Yeah, it was fun.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please click up here. There's another video I know that you're absolutely going to love. Click over here and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our amazing upcoming guests.